In this episode, we're going to look at the Varavon Armor GH4K Pro camera cage. Let's take a look. In this episode here, we're going to take a look at the Varavon Armor GH4 Pro, which is a great little cage. It's made specifically for the Panasonic GH4 and GH3. It includes obviously a top handle that is detachable, or you can turn it around, and we'll show you that in a minute. It comes with this side handle, which is really kind of an interesting thing. I've never seen this before in a cage, and we'll show you that in more detail as well. This has been sent out to me for testing. I've been using it for a little over a month and really liking it so far, and let me just kind of run you through some of the things that I've found with it so far and some of its features. In addition to the top handle and the side handle, there is also an HDMI cable retainer. There is a something I've never seen before also in a cage here is the audio cable retainer. And you can see it's pretty much it's a single piece of aluminum minus the handle and the HDMI retainer here, but it's cut and formed around the controls of the GH4 and the GH3 so that you have access to everything. So this is really nice here. So for example, you can see on the top here, all of your control dials are available to you. The buttons here for white balance, ISO, exposure comp, the dials, all available. For the memory card, you can get in there and take that out if you need to. And critically, for every good cage, you can also change the battery without unrigging the camera, which is super important. One very nice feature that not all cages have is the ability to take the flipping screen and open it and rotate it through its whole range, which is quite nice. Now, obviously, you can't do that if you've got an HDMI cable hooked up, but if you are doing kind of a low shot and you're not necessarily recording to an external recorder or using a monitor, that's a fantastic feature. So really very thoughtful design in terms of making sure that you still have access to all the controls so the cage doesn't slow you down when you're shooting. One other feature that's very nice is there is this anti-twist, it's hard to see it here, but there is an anti-twist sort of tabs down here at the bottom of the camera so that when you attach it, the camera can't twist within the cage. One thing that some people mentioned was, hey, I'm concerned that maybe those tabs are a little too imposing and you wouldn't be able to fit all of the larger lenses and especially lens adapters like the Metabone Speed Booster. In this case here, I've got a Metabone Speed Booster on. Now, I guess the secret is with a Speed Booster, and this is something that I've done just kind of as a matter of course because it wouldn't fit on my other cage, is I took the foot on the Metabone Speed Booster off. And the foot is really just sort of a tripod mount if you're going to be mounting longer lenses. I just took it off, and with that, you can see here it fits perfectly. It's not even close to interfering with those tabs, so that all works very nicely. You have built in an Arca-Swiss type connector, so sort of a dovetail kind of thing here, and that's not removable. That's actually part of the aluminum. And of course you have the screw here to the quarter 20 to mount the camera itself into its tripod tap on the bottom. But what's nice about this is there are two holes here. So if you're like me and you use a quick release plate for Manfrotto system, what that gives you is the ability you have anti-twist built into the plate as well. So this little pin here goes into the one hole. So once you have that attached, the nice thing here is it doesn't twist. Now, that may not seem like a big deal to some of you, and it's a feature you could live without. I actually have found it's something I'm not willing to live without anymore on my two previous cages. And they're nice cages, don't get me wrong, but they're more entry-level cages. The one is a Camerar Tank TK3, and that one works pretty nicely for bigger DSLRs. Does not have this anti-twist capability down here. And then I also had one that I originally bought for the GH4, which was a Fugen Hanu. It doesn't have that anti-twist either. And it has the anti-twist for the camera itself within the cage, but doesn't have it for mounting your quick release plate. And there was one time when I had it all mounted up on a tripod. We were doing a kind of a product type shoot. And so the camera was up high and it was aimed down at a table. And the whole thing came loose and swung around. And fortunately, it didn't fall off the tripod, but it was A, embarrassing, and B, my heart nearly stopped for a while there concerned that my whole camera was going to come crashing down. Fortunately, it didn't happen, but that's why I think this anti-twist capability is really, really nice. So I don't run into that issue anymore. Really kind of, again, a thoughtful design on Varavon's part. Now, all of these thumb screws also have the ability to be tightened and loosened with a coin. And they have kind of a rounded, you could use either a flathead screwdriver or a coin. And typically, if I'm going to carry a coin with me, it's a lot lighter than carrying around a screwdriver. But on the top handle, you have one of those as well. And this screw just holds it in place. I can show you how we can take it off here. There we are. So you could also, this is just a Coldshoe here, so you could just mount anything that can go into a Coldshoe here, or you can put the top handle on, and the top handle is reversible as well, so it can go on this way in addition. So you got plenty of options there. It's a very nice design. What I like about this top handle is it's all one piece. It does have this contoured handle here so that your fingers are pretty comfortable, whether you're 2-finger or 3-finger back here. And that works really nicely. On the handle, we also have a Coldshoe up front here, which is again removable with again one of these red thumb screws. And the Coldshoe is pretty nice. It's got this retaining screw on the side, so regardless of how your particular accessory that you're mounting here attaches, this really kind of ensures it stays on there. It's not going anywhere, which is kind of a nice feature. So you don't have to rely on usually the retaining screw of whatever device it is you're putting up there. In my case, for example, I've been putting my Shogun up there, Atomos Shogun, and I've got this Manfrotto Coldshoe. Now the HDMI retaining system on the side here is a little bit different than I've seen on some other cages. It's not the type that actually locks the plug to the camera so that it can't pull out at all. What it does instead is it retains the cable. And let me show you what I mean here. Okay, you can see here I kind of looped the cable. This is a smaller gauge HDMI cable than I've typically used in the past, but it works reasonably well. So you kind of loop it through here and it just fits underneath, and it provides a very strong and sturdy attachment there so that if something goes by and pulls on this, it's not going to yank it out of the HDMI port. However, you can still unplug the HDMI plug from the actual port. Now, some people would say, well, what's the point of that? Why would you even want it to be that way? I actually like that better than the kind that totally and completely kind of locks the plug itself in. And the reason I like that is, as a photographer, I have to unrig this every once in a while, actually more than every once in a while. And having to get a tool out and undo all this other stuff over here just to unrig the camera is a little bit of a pain. So this seems to me like kind of a nice trade-off where I get that, a little bit of protection here, and I can also unplug it and unrig it very quickly. So again, kind of a different system. I think really it's made for HDMI plugs that have a 90-degree angle, and I'll be looking for some of those actually here in the next little bit to kind of even make it a little bit more refined in terms of the overall connection there. But that system also works. So just something I wanted to point out that's a little bit different than some of the others out there on the market. Now, in addition to that, there is also an audio cable retaining system. And the way this works here is the microphone port up on top of the top side here of the GH4. You can plug this in. And the way this works is there's actually a screw sort of recessed underneath here, and you can use an Allen wrench to tighten this bottom one up. And what you do is just get it to the point where it's touching the bottom of the 3.5 millimeter plug. And then you use this thumb screw here to tighten down. It sort of sandwiches around this thing right here. And that does a nice job retaining that as well. And you can see here, again, does a pretty good job. So another feature that I haven't seen on other cages, so kind of moves this one up into a more functional category, I guess. Now, one other unique feature that I have not seen in other cages is this side handle, which really kind of gives you the ergonomics of a kind of a handy cam type setup. And the way this works is that there is this connector here with 2 holes, and they come with a couple of screws. Once you have your camera unrigged, you can attach it on the side here. And then in addition to being able to attach it there, you also have this thumb screw on the side here, along with sort of a washer that's sort of ridged a set of washers, one on each side, and it allows you to adjust the angle of the handle as well. Now this is a really kind of unique feature that would work, I think, pretty well for run and gun type shooters. I don't do a ton of that kind of shooting myself, but now that I have this, I may do a little bit more. It's actually could be pretty handy. And I think, again, to keep things in perspective here, this is not like obviously it's not anything like having a gimbal of any sort in terms of smoothing out your shots, but it is good enough if you're standing in one place. The heft of the cage, in addition to the camera, kind of stabilizes things pretty nicely. And having this handle here makes it even easier to get reasonably smooth shots. And so that's a pretty interesting feature. I found that the handle itself is quite comfortable, and I'll be looking forward to using that a little bit more. Again, kind of moving into the world of handheld shots, which I haven't done a lot of in the past. So there it is. This is the Varavon Armor GH4 Pro, and I think it's a very good buy. It's priced in January 2015, somewhere around $270 US. I think it's worth every penny of that, and it's been a really nice addition to my kit, so I'm really happy to have it and to put it to use. If you have any questions about this particular cage, go ahead and leave some comments down below. Thanks for checking out this episode, and if you haven't already subscribed, make sure you do that. We'll be sure to get you more great videos on how to improve your lighting and sound for video. Talk with you soon.